So we are a nice slope. You can see we got a sea sitting by the ocean of compassion within, and the compassion of life as in water for giving life to this planet. So yes, you don't have to awaken, and that may sound shocking to some people, but it's not necessary to awaken. On a deeper level, you already are awake. So we are given this life, the sense of individuality, the sense of separateness through the human experience. And the only reason why people are actually looking to awaken is most of the cases it's because of suffering. So if you find a way how to deal with suffering, and you find a way how to deal with a lack of fulfillment from within, the question of seeking on a spiritual path, that question doesn't come into most people's being as to what is there in life. Or you may get the individual that has experienced everything in life, and then now they get to a point where is this all? This question, is this all? And yes, that is all for the physical. And so they tend to seek for a spiritual kind of enlightenment or spiritual accomplishment. But to get us the deeper level of you don't really have to awaken, the reason why I say it's not really necessary to awaken is because, yes, awakening has benefits. It has a lot of things, but everything is kind of perfect the way how it is. It's because we have somewhere in the history of humanity picked up this idea of things not being perfect, because one, not being able to see things as it is. So somewhere from outside, this thoughts or information that has been put into certain human beings which have carried out spirituality across the world, thinking that there's a problem with everything. That if somebody is not in a specific type of religion or specific type of worship, they need to jump on board, otherwise something is wrong with them, or they get sent to hell and all that stuff. So that's just a simple, explanation as to one of the reasons, one of the many million reasons that that has come into being. But when you awaken, the game of life, it is the absolute blissfulness. It's the absolute wisdomless wisdom, wordless wisdom. It is the silence beyond silence. It is somewhere they've put into the human being that there is some seeking and all that stuff. You see, for all the other animals on this planet, they seem to be pretty happy and enjoying everything. And on one level, the human, what you're calling as human, is just a 2% difference in the DNA from a chimpanzee. So we are all monkeys at the end of the day, but they have been putting this separateness, that I am separate from everything. Even on the spiritual path, if you experience something called a samadhi or an awakening, full-on awakening, not an awakening within the body, out of the body and then awaken. So learning to die before you die, if you haven't heard of that. It brings a sense of knowing, a knowing that cannot be communicated, a sense of everything that, or every inch of the self structure, what it is looking for externally, is sort of found in that awakening. The fulfillment lies in that. So, on the physical level, if you're thinking about all of this stuff, it may sound a bit crazy, because on a physical level, you can get that fulfillment, but they have, because of the knowledge that has been passed and the information, it is sort of, something better. If you can't be happy with what you have now and be appreciative of what you have now, then something better is the problem. Something more is the problem, because the mind wants to, when it grasps those words that, oh, there's this blissful state, there's this ultimate fulfillment, there's this ultimate bliss, that is the problem, that question itself. So one way you can actually go about is try to exhaust that question. But the paradox of awakening is that there was no need to awaken, because what is trying to awaken is something as the false self. That will never awaken for any person. No false self has ever awakened. It is that self beyond the false self, which is that primordial oneness, that is always awakened. Or not rather awakened, but that is always awake. And it is that, if I want to say, for lack of words, a remembrance in that state. It's not even a state, because a state, or rather an experience, right, is something that is in the self structure. So experience will always be in the self structure. You are not that which is experiencing anything, and that is one of the greatest shock. You're not the experiencer, neither the objective of the experience, or neither the experience itself. So, on a deeper level, when I look at everyone, this sort of dream of life is happening on a scale of a perfect, you want to say, chaotic order, and everything that we have and that we know is enough, and it is complete. There's this saying in the Upanishads, which I read. I can't quote it exactly, but it goes something like this. Just paraphrasing here. The full arises from the full, and although that full is taken and put into an individual body, that portion is not incomplete. It is still full, even though it has come from the full. So the mind, when it looks at that, it thinks that, okay, we are fractals of the whole, or we are subsets of the whole, and that is false. Because from the mind's perspective, which is the mind is duality, it sees it like that. But we're actually full, the full thing, the full primordial I. Jesus said, he mentioned this, I am that I am, which literally points to that. And when people heard that or they read that, they looked at the I when he said I am as referring to as the character of Jesus, which was not that what he was talking about. He was talking about that I prior to the false self. So after awakening, I'd like to add this as well. After awakening, there is some form of sadhana, which I'll make a video on, that has to be added to this channel. There's it's called sadhana after sadhana. So sadhana is basically your spiritual practices and stuff. Not necessarily that one needs to do spiritual practices, but it sort of helps clear, you can say, the debris from the false self, so that the primordial self shines through. So that helps in experiencing life, because with awakening there's less suffering, and when there is less suffering, the false self can enjoy it much more. So in other words, everything that what I am saying, I am communicating, is not really coming from the primordial self. Some things do come from the primordial self through this vessel, but this which people are hearing, listening to, and seeing, this is the false self. This self will never awaken, never has awakened. So what is this awakening which I'm speaking of? It doesn't form part of the experiencing structure. So it's out of this, you can say, this structure of self. And therefore it's out of the experiencing structure. It is not really an experience. And that is what the so-called masters and enlightened masters of the past spoke of. But they've used words like experience and samadhi and stuff. But, they've all tried, but they never ever can come close. And they know of this, because when you awaken, that is exactly how it is. And, whether you agree or whether you don't agree, that is fine. It's this purpose of this video is not to change a person's perspective on anything. It's not to, help you in any way. It's just a sense of reporting as to what is from awakening. It's just an update as to, for this time that the selves, the false selves, are experiencing on planet Earth. This may be helpful to some people, may not be helpful. It doesn't matter. But life is meant to not be enjoyed, not be not enjoyed. It just is, just witness it, just see it without any type of conditioning, because then you remain always in the present moment. And if you suffer a lot, and that can help as a solution now and then, and eventually maybe some of you will eventually break free from those patterns of cyclical nature, and you can enjoy the experience of this planet in a much more pleasant way.